I'd like to call this meeting of the Westland City Council to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Jim Godbout.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Present.
Councilman Hurdenberg.
Here.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Here.
Councilman McDermott.
Here.
Pro Tem Barkowski.
Present.
Councilwoman Sampe.
Present.
President Hart.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. To begin this meeting tonight, the Pro Tem and I wanted to go ahead and address some of the tragic losses of life that we've seen since the last council meeting. I'll begin with Pro Tem Barkowski.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight, we would recognize that we are all mourning with the family and friends at the untimely passing of Jacob Escobedo. He was a Franklin middle schooler who liked to draw and play video games with his dad and hang out with his family. There is a celebration of life scheduled for February 24th at Ut Funeral Home, and the family requests that attendees wear green in honor of his vibrant spirit. On behalf of the council, we send his family our deepest condolences.
And in addition to that, if it wasn't painful enough, as we all know, the tragic occurrences that happened in East Lansing at the Michigan State University campus. 3 young, energetic people lost their lives and many more were injured, and one young person is permanently disabled from what it sounds like. Again, the council speaks in unison as our hearts go out to the families of those of the people we've lost and those that they've left behind, as well as those that continue to suffer with the physical and mental trauma that came with the horrible occurrences on East Lansing. At this time, we would ask the council and all of the attendees in the audience to join us in a moment of silence for all of these young souls we've lost. Thank you. We now move to questions or input on the agenda from the public. This section will allow a person to be recognized only at the beginning of the meeting to address the council pertaining to items that are specifically on the business agenda. Questions asked may be responded to during the agenda item following a motion and support from the council. Is there anyone on my left? Sir.
Well, this is item C. I'm Arthur Warren, Precinct 28 elected delegate from Precinct 28. I attended some of your study sessions in regards to money that would be appropriated. And I see up under this item here, you have that $300,000 that's been appropriated for street lighting. And my main question is that when the folks from Fairfield Glades came up and asked for street lighting, they were told to get a petition and submit it to council, submit it to the administration to get street lighting. And when I hear this $300,000 being spent from the Warren to Joy Road, there was no rationale other than probably a phone call. So what is it that a black community has to do to get a problem that's been resolved in that community? I know that when it was developed, the contractors left out and didn't do the lights like they did on Courier Street. And I think it's a responsibility of council when things are done wrong to a particular community is for you to come to the aid of that community and resolve those problems. Not that they have to come to you and get a petition signed. But I need to know how it came about. If we have to get petitions, was the petition submitted to council or to the administration to get that lighting done? And what do we have to do as a community to get anything done? Do we have to do something different or do we follow the same pattern? I need to know, And for those of us who are listening in the community tonight, what do we have to do to get on the same par? I was in a so-called Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission. They said, well, we just need to talk, talk, talk. Well, I heard a lot of talk. I see a lot of talk, but I hear a lot of talk, I'm sorry, but I see what you do. Let's be very clear on that. So I need to know what it took for those individuals to get that $300,000 worth of lighting up there, and I'm pretty sure over in Fairfield Glades, there might be 5 or 10 street lights that needs to be put over there, and why they can't get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody on my right? Sir?
Good evening. Richard Graham from Move Westland Forward. Regarding new business, well, nothing really there again. So on to consent calendar item C. Thank you, Councilman Godbout, for your comments last council meeting about this item. Very refreshing to hear. It is amazing to see over $5 million out of the $26 million going right into the general fund. Sad, so much it has to be plugged into the general fund, so there is cash on hand for appointed interim mayor Michael P. Landau to use on the campaign trail this year. No question that $300,000 for lighting our Wayne Road is needed. The project approved a few months ago was incomplete, and the residents on the north side of the city was neglected once again. It's not about race, it's not about color, it's not about gender, it's about making things right on the north side of the town every once in a while. And in this case, Wayne Road, north of Warren, was neglected a few months ago. What is good to see, and I think thank you to Councilman Hersberg for suggesting this, Hawthorne Valley, after a decade of failure by the previous mayor, is going to be used for a new fire station. Hopefully the toxic dump site is cleaned up before the new fire station is placed there. What we do not see is a water tower to save residents money and taxpayers, no community center. Hopefully the rest of the money is not wasted like it was with the Marshall Plan. I see Marshall School is still listed at $4 million. Through the chair to Councilman Hersberg, you asked about the funding at the last council meeting, but the mayor could not respond. Did you ever get an answer? And when will the lavish spending with our tax dollars be published regarding Marshall? Thank you.
Council President, can I respond?
Typically, discussion's not during consent calendar. Do you mind holding to the item and answering that?
I'll hold the item.
Okay.
He needs a hold?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Didn't know that was policy. Thank you.
Is there anyone on my left? Anyone else on my right? All right, we'll move comments on the agenda and move to the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
So moved. Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Sampe, supported by Councilwoman Rakowski. Are there any changes to the consent calendar? Councilman Godbout.
Yes, I'd like to move item C to item 1A, please.
There's a motion to move consent calendar item C to new business 1A from Councilman Godbout, supported from Councilman McDermott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. Back to the consent calendar for the remaining items. Are there any other changes to the consent calendar? Any other changes? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
Council has approved the following consent calendar items: introduction of budget amendments through December 31, 2022 for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2023. The last item approved on the consent calendar, adoption of prepared land division resolution 1651 South Vinoy, east side of Vinoy, north of Palmer. This is Planning Department number 2242A. The land division was approved by City Council December 19, 2022. Moving to approval of vouchers.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman McDermott, supported by Councilwoman Sampe. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business. Item 1, Minutes of the regular meeting held February 6, 2023.
Motion by Councilman Hersberg, supported by Councilman Godbout. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout. Yes. Councilman Hersberg. Yes. Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Pro Tem Rakowski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sampe.
Yes.
President Hart.
Abstain due to absence.
Motion passes. New business, item 1A. A moment. Adoption of prepared resolution to authorize the expenditure of American Rescue Plan Act funds on City of Westland projects. The appropriation requested is $4,866,016.
Is there a motion?
Yes. I move that the ARPA funding resolution be postponed until after the city council has had a study session to review the expenses of the already allocated $17 million and discuss in detail other projects to potentially be funded through the ARPA allocation.
Are you moving for a postponement, date not certain?
Till after we have a study session on it.
All right. There's a motion from Councilman Godbout to postpone the item. Supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
I'll be
Yeah,
glad to discuss
sure.
it. There are a few things in the resolution that, as I spoke at the last council meeting, that I'm not enamored with. One of them being the street lighting that was mentioned earlier, as well as, reviewing some of the expenses that we've had. In this resolution, we're adding an additional $500,000 to the additional building property improvements to the police department. And that $500,000 amounts to a 40% increase over the original budget allocation. So, I'd like some clarification on what addendums were made, what changes were made to boost that allocation by $400,000. Also, we haven't had any detail on the money that was previously allocated and how much, if any of that, is left in the funds, or what projects have been started. And, we know that there are several projects that, and I submitted the spreadsheet, the council president sent out a spreadsheet asking for input on other projects and ideas that council would like to have or discuss and look at. So before we allocate all of this funding, and in particular the $5.5 million in here that goes into general fund support under lost revenue, quote unquote. There are other projects that I've identified, and I know my colleagues have identified, that they'd like to have some discussion on. There's no rush to reallocate this funding at this point in time, at least until council has had a study session on it, so that we can get these ideas on the table. Some of the items that I brought forward in my spreadsheet to the council president were Fire Station 4. We've had no discussion on Fire Station 4 and the needs for improvements at Fire Station 4. I also listed the Center for the Arts, the Historic Village Park, the Samuel B. Ware Neighborhood Care and Development Center, potential water tower, and some other things. So there's, discussion that needs to take place before we just put this money into general fund and then have to allocate it because a resolution won't come back for council. It'll get done during budget sessions, not during a resolution where we allocate project money for projects. So That's why I made the motion to postpone until after we have a study session and get the data. I mean, we need to make data-driven decisions. And so far, estimates, we're estimating 2.5 for a new fire station. We've seen nothing on it to know that, is it 2.5? Are we going to have a 40% miss on that number? So until we have a discussion with some better numbers, that's why I want to postpone this until that discussion takes place.
Councilman Hersberg, did you want to address the question?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I have to agree with Councilman Godbout. I mean, I'd just like to have some more discussion on this too. You know, mainly the 300,000 for the street lighting fund to do the rest of Wayne Road. We had the study session on it, and I kind of was under the impression that we were going to wait until next year and do it within the budget, within the leftover money within the lighting fund. So it doesn't make sense to me why we would rush this and use ARPA funds to do the street lighting for a small section of Wayne Road when we can just do it next year within the budget. I'd like to see that money go towards the neighborhoods. We had a little bit of discussion on that. Perhaps we need to revisit it. I know there's a lot of neighborhoods throughout the city where, well, we actually have residents on certain streets requesting street lights, whether they have bus stops or students. So I'd like to talk about that. I'm not going to do it all here, obviously. We'll take a vote, and if we can get that study session, I'd like to address it there. And then the question from Mr. Graham, the 4 million in the resolution is the old number. We're changing it down. I did get a breakdown of what was spent on Marshall, and it was 427,000. Yeah, don't shoot the messenger on that one. 340,000 went to OHM, and I know when it comes to surveys and engineering studies, those can be pretty costly, but I didn't get a breakdown on what exactly they did for that number. 50,000 to plant Moran. There was 25,000 for landscaping, which I thought was a little bit excessive for just grass cutting. We had the winter time. There wasn't anything to cut. And I still have questions on that too, because there was 7,000 for roofing solutions. I wasn't aware that we did any work on Marshall Building, and so again, it was 427,000. Just to answer your question. Thanks.
All set. Is there any other discussion? Councilman McDermott?
Through the chair to the administration, in regards to Marshall, we do have an MEDC grant that's coming down to cover that $427,000 cost. Is that correct?
The chair, that is correct.
Thank you. And then just a couple of other things here real quick. So I understand what, Councilman Godbout and Councilman Hersberg are saying in regards to having the study sessions in ARPA, and I think we're all in full agreement that we want to get the ball rolling and get this going. And while parking it in the general fund is not my favorite thing to do, I think as long as we have the ARPA money allocated in the end towards projects that we all want to see, that's what's, I think, going to matter the most. And while this isn't my favorite way to do it, I too would like to get more numbers and more study sessions going, so we have hard numbers in terms of the projects that we want to do on Fire Station 2, Fire Station 4, the Central City Pond remediation, the public Wi-Fi that we've allocated money towards. I think that's something that we all want to do, and moving forward, I feel confident that we're, going to do those things, even though I think that, in the past, we probably should have had some of those things done already. But in regards to Marshall, I just wanted to make sure to raise that point, too, that the MEDC grant is covering the cost for what's been expended so far. Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you, President Hart. Is it okay if I have our Budget Director, Dan Block, walk through a little bit of the information on where the ARPA allocations are going in the budget? Dan?
Please do.
Through the chair, so the ARPA resolution, basically through all the other ARPA resolutions thus far, 4 million was remaining to be appropriated for the Marshall. That is being unappropriated, basically down to zero, because like McDermott mentioned, it's going to be covered, any costs incurred thus far is going to be covered through the MEDC grant. And then they're going to be reappropriated to the fire station improvements at the Fire Station 2, additional building and property improvements at the police department, street lighting, illumination, Joy to Warren on Wayne Road, and then additional lost revenue. So the lost revenue is basically like a placeholder. The federal government wants to be able to see that the funds are appropriated And so this is a way to appropriate the funds, so the federal government sees that it's appropriated. These funds can be unappropriated at another time for the purposes that council or the administration decides through council's approval. In addition, these funds are tracked in a separate fund. It's Fund 285, or the American Rescue Plan Act Fund. And they don't necessarily go into the general fund until approved through the budgeting process. Hopefully that clarifies that.
Is there any other discussion? Councilwoman Sampe?
Thank you, Council President. I guess my colleague's bringing up this here now at a council meeting when we've discussed this. We've been behind closed doors. You've had opportunities to speak with our team members and administration, but we bring it up here right before the vote. I just don't understand why we continue to do this. In terms of supporting or agreeing with Councilman McDermott, I agree with you. The money is there. We can put it in general fund. We can wait till it's allocated to the appropriate things. I support also, too, about the study sessions because I have my own ideas from residents that I've talked to. So I don't think we have to react immediately and spend the money. That's not even it. There's items on here that we've already discussed. The street lighting, I mean, some of these items are in nausea. Like, I don't understand why we're bringing it up now. It's mind-blowing to me that cameras come on and people want to now disagree. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Is there any, Councilman Hertzberg?
Yeah. Well, I brought up the same points at the study session, but through the chair to the budget director, what have we done so far as far as looking to build a new fire station? Do we have any solid quotes or estimates or the size of the building? What do we have on that for the $2.5 million?
Through the chair, I believe that number was an original estimate from Plant Moran through the initial study that was done from the ARPA meetings with the public and whatnot.
Okay, and one more question, if you don't mind. What are the projects at the PD that this allocation is for?
There are additional, there are additional items that were identified from the assessment phase. They're due to some inflationary increases and some other items that were identified.
Was it for a roof or HVAC or what was it for?
I could get you the list. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see this postponed. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? All right, I'll offer discussion real quick. Yeah, we've had a couple meetings, so just some, oh, I'm sorry, Council Godbout, I didn't see you. I apologize. Go ahead.
Just so that everyone's aware, we've already allocated $5 million in the first resolution that we had to lost revenue. And I spoke to this before, and I know it goes into a separate bucket, right? But out of that $5 million, and I just found out today, 1.8 has been allocated through the budget process that was taking place last year. So that leaves 3.8 million out of that 5 just sitting in there waiting to be allocated. Again, it doesn't come like the other original allocation did through a resolution. It'll happen during the budget meetings. So, and I've asked numerous times for well over a year, probably a year and a half, to have a study session so that we could get our arms around what everybody was thinking on these ARPA allocations and what projects might possibly be funded through it. So to take another $5.5 million and put it in so that we can discuss it during the budget session time is not the way that, it should be done. We've had ample opportunity to have meetings, and for whatever reason, the council president and the former pro tem didn't schedule any study sessions for these projects and didn't want council input. It seemed like they didn't want council input on trying to allocate these funds. So now we're in a rush when, you know, there's quote unquote this threat that the Fed wants to see it expended, and I question that there's going to be any clawbacks based off of the current makeup of the federal government to these funds. So I still am at a loss as to why we can't at least postpone this until after we have a study session and get everybody's ideas on the table, find out what's been spent, what still needs to be spent on some of these projects that money's been allocated now for probably 3/4 of a year, and we've got no data on. And we're going to just stuff more money into the general fund so that we can talk about it down the road during the budget session. It's just very frustrating sitting up here with the lack of action taken by this council.
Is there any other discussion? I think you already had two. Yeah. Councilwoman, Pro Tem, excuse me.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think where my frustration lies is we have asked for some of the facts and figures of the spending, like the amount of our capital expenditures that we had fast forward for our fleet vehicles, which we made appropriations and we made resolutions to appropriate money. But some of those receipts, we finally have gotten the Marshall receipts, but we haven't really discussed in depth or at length about how much we've spent on our new engines, our new rescue vehicles, our new DPS vehicles, our new police vehicles, and I think that's information that we should be openly sharing. I think the public needs to know how much of that money has gone to those vehicles. And there are other projects, to speak to some that have already kind of come through and has been approved. But to my colleagues' points, if those are estimates, there's no sense in being somewhere where we're going to invest a $2.5 million, and if we come up short. I just, for me, what I want to see is what has been spent and how, so that for the remaining amount of money, if we need to shore up things that were miscalculated, or if we are able to do other projects, that gets done. Because if we were to all build our wish lists, we can find out that we want $500 million worth of improvements, and it wouldn't be hard for us to do that. But we only have what seemingly looks to be about $5 million of our original allocation, which was 26, I think. So we have to be really responsible with what we do with the rest of that money. And, that's where the shortcoming is for me, is not being able to see where that money has been spent already. Thank you.
Anybody not used up their two speaking points yet? Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yeah. I just have a couple questions. This is not going to hold up anything if we do a study session, correct?
Well, to answer your question, if you're directing that towards me, it will take this entire allocation. Currently, the motion on the floor is to postpone the entire motion, okay? And that would take it and push it off into a date not yet determined, following a study session as requested. So yes, to answer your question, it would delay it. How long? I don't have an answer for you at the moment.
Well, I have been hearing a lot about this topic, and a lot of people in the community has been talking about it. So I think it's fair to the community to we delay it, make sure we understand what we're doing, and just even if we miss a mark, at least we took the time to make sure we allocate the money properly. So I will support delaying it as well.
Okay. All set? Hi. Councilwoman Sampy's got her light, and I'll come back to you. And I think everybody besides Mr. Hornbuckle will be up there too already by then.
Okay.
Oh, the pro tem. Councilwoman Sampy.
Do you want to talk? Are you sure? Okay. Okay. So I guess I encourage my colleagues, there has been a request for a study session. If my colleagues here are on the dais believe that we've not gotten ample responsibility, ideas or such to actually fill that out. Council President Hart put together, I guess, an ideas or wish list or things that we talk about in the community. I don't know who has submitted it, so I guess if those are ideas or things that you are hoping to have done, that everyone does that. Because this is something, if the motion on the floor is to delay and a study session is to be proposed, then people on this dais need to participate and be constructive and share their feedback. Because that is something right now, if this is what we're going to be doing, delaying, and we go into a council session and people don't come with their ideas, it's just a waste of time. So I think that it's very important that I'm looking at everyone on the dais, that everyone participates and shares your ideas.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes, in regards to, just a couple of things, clarification on the motion to delay. We would be willing to, once we have an ARPA study session, put this back in place. Essentially, we have our study session, discuss it, kick around all of our ideas, get some more hard estimates on some of the projects like the pond remediation, the fire stations, and then we just pick this back up. Is essentially how the motion would work.
It's not tabled, so it's.
Okay. It's postponed until we have the ARPA study session, not a undetermined table. Got it?
Currently, the motion is to postpone the entire agenda item.
Okay, all right.
Right. I think I'm good now, right? Okay. Do you have anything, Pro Tem? Okay.
2 shots.
I get 2 bites at the apple, huh? No, so we've talked about this a lot. Now, if the council, this is not the feedback I got, so if this is what the council wants to do, there's a couple things we need to get done, and all the other things I think we can sit down and talk about, but delaying the fire station is not something I'm excited about doing. So I'm going to meet the council halfway. I'm going to pass the gavel to the pro tem. I'm going to make an amendment to the motion that we retain the fire department allocation on the agenda item. You'll need support.
You need support for the amendment. Support from Councilwoman Sampe.
Discussion.
Discussion from the maker.
My discussion, I'll just reinforce what I said. I'm willing to meet the council halfway, but delaying the fire station allocation, I don't think is appropriate. We have a short window. We have a lot of things to get done. There's a lot of things that have to get done right now, and the sand is falling out of the glass. So if we want to talk about the other things, that's fine, but we need to retain the allocation for the fire station.
And from the supporter, is there any?
Yeah, I just agree with that too. I was over at Fire Station 2, and there needs to be a lot of work done. I see our president of the union here today, Mr. Polite, and we've talked, so I also agree that this is crucial. I mean, I guess that's why I was getting so upset, so I'm sorry if my decorum, if people were not happy with the way I reacted, but this is very important. Fire Station 2 needs to be done. So we need to, in my mind, we need to act on that. So that's basically my feedback on that.
Okay, and without having the monitor, I'm just going to kindly ask, Councilman Hersberg, do you have discussion?
No.
Councilman Gaba?
Sure. I'm not opposed to the allocation for Fire Station 2. That wasn't, my issue wasn't with the allocation for Fire Station 2. It's with many of the other items and the lack of any kind of allocation for Fire Station 4 that also needs to be addressed. My biggest concern is we're allocating $2.5 million, and we can allocate more if we need to at a later time. But again, we're working off of a ballpark estimate that was done over a year ago at $2.5 million. So, and I don't know. Obviously, the study session's not going to happen anytime soon, which is why he wants to allocate the $2.5 million now. So I'll agree to allocating the $2.5 million for the fire station, but the rest of it, we need to have a lot more discussion on.
Thank you, Councilman Gaba. Councilman McDermott, sorry, I don't have the.
That's okay, Council President Pro Tem. So it sounds like we're going to be, the amendment on, as proposed, is to pull out the funding separate for The 2.5 million for fire station number
So
two.
let me walk you through the Roberts rules here. So we
Okay.
have the first item that was immediately amended to postpone, okay? And then I amended that postponement to retain the 2.5 million for the fire station. So that is the
Great.
topic we are talking about right now
I wanted that clarity so that
specifically, is the
residents-
2.5 million for the fire station. If that passes, then the underlying amendment is amended, but then if that original amendment that he made dies, the whole thing dies altogether, and we're back to the original motion. Does that make any sense?
It does, yes.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
And Councilman Hornbuckle, do you have any discussion on the amendment to the amended?
One thing I say is, I can live with that. I want to make sure the fire department is taken care of, so I'm okay with that.
And I would just add that I appreciate the timeliness of the fire department needing to be underway. And I will also then ask, that we've already had the maker, so since this is an amendment, I would ask for a roll call vote.
On the amendment to remove the fire station allocation of $2.5 million from the proposed postponement. Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Pro Tem Markowski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sampe.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
The amendment passes unanimously.
I have retrieved the gavel. All right, back to the motion for postponement, which I think we've all had our bite at the apple. So again, if the postponement passes, then we know what happens. If it dies, then we go right back to where we started from the very beginning. And I will go straight to roll call.
To postpone, Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Pro Tem Markowski.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sampe.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. New business. Item 2, confirmation of appointment of Mayor Michael Londo as delegate to the Central Wayne County Sanitation Authority to fill the mayoral term, with the appointment becoming effective immediately and expiring June 30, 2023.
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Sampe, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business, item 3, confirmation of reappointment of Deanna Adams Stachow to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term, with the term to expire March 2, 2026.
So moved.
Support.
Flip a coin, I'm going to say motion by Councilman Godbout, supported by Councilman McDermott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Mayor, did you want to add anything? I apologize.
That's okay, Council President. Just, Deanna Stachow is not here tonight, but this is just a reappointment. She has served on the Planning Commission since March of 2020, and I know I'm not supposed to talk about the other items coming up, but I will briefly. The next two, I believe, are in the audience. Yes, they are in the audience. Let's see here. Deborah Folks is in the audience. She's served since May of 2015, and then Ruby Richards has served since March of 2020. We're asking for a reappointment on all three, please.
Okay. Is there any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business, item 4, confirmation of reappointment of Deborah Folks to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term, with the term to expire February 18, 2026.
Motion by Councilman Hersberg.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Godbout. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, motion carried unanimously. Ms. Folks, please stand up and be recognized.
New business, item 5, confirmation of reappointment of Ruby Richards to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term, with the term to expire March 2, 2026.
So moved.
Support.
All right. I'm going to take the motion from Pro Tem Rakowski, and I'll take the support from Councilman Godbout. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Oh, do you have discussion?
Yeah, I
Councilwoman
do.
Sampe, please do.
I just wanted, I know that Ms. Folks and Ms. Richards is in the audience. I just wanted to thank you both, and actually Deanna, if you're watching, for your commitment. So I watch in my spare time the meetings. You guys do a great job. Decorum's fantastic, and I know you work really hard. So thank you so much for just dedicating and serving our city. We really appreciate you guys.
All right. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? I wouldn't think so. Seeing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. Ms. Richards, please stand and be recognized. I want to take a brief digression from the agenda because we did have our Congresswoman walk in. Congresswoman Tlaib, you would like to address the council and the citizens?
No, thank you so much. Good evening to all of our council members, our police and fire leadership here, as well as our amazing clerk, former colleague. Nope, just wanted to come. Many of you already know because I've called you directly, but wanted you to know in December of this past year, President Biden signed our budget, which include $3.5 million for our Wayne Westland schools. This is for service-based learning, but I know our council president has been working really hard with the school district and superintendent directly to make sure we have some training for our firefighters and others. So I'm really eager to get, again, $3.5 million back into our community here in Wayne Westland Community School. And so here to help in any way, I feel that we may get another community project funding request from the city soon, sounds like. Want to be here again as a partner and a supporter of making sure that our residents get the quality of city services that they deserve. I do also want to introduce all of you, when you do see her, Ms. Joyce is our person for Westland Community. She is going to be the one from the constituent services that Melissa will call me about, and different kinds of issues that might come up from our constituents. Please let us know. We'll work on it directly. I know our clerk has also been hands-on in a couple of the constituent cases. Thank you for that. Been really, really helpful, especially because it's a special case, and we really appreciate your team helping us with that. So getting people through everyday challenges, y'all, is as important as any ordinance, any resolution, any bills we ever work on. So please send them our way if we can be helpful, not just on passports or in doing congressional record. We do actually like to do the social services direct programs that I think our families really deserve. And so, again, really appreciate your partnership these last 4 years and hopefully the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. All right, now we will move into public comment. Everyone speaking before the council should do so in a civil manner. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, vulgar language, disruptive outbursts, threats, racial slurs, or other conduct that interferes with the business meeting. Personal attacks on council members, the administration, city staff, other speakers, or members of the public will not be tolerated. The clock will start upon the first words of the speaker and will not stop while the speaker is recognized from the floor. It is the speaker's option to ask questions at this time, and the person questioned may choose to respond during the speaker's allotment of time. However, the clock will not be stopped once it is started. The clock will continue to run until the speaker is completed or their speaking time is exhausted, whichever is first. Is there anyone on my right? Sir.
Richard Graham, again, from Move Westland Forward. I guess first to start, shameful comments, Councilwoman Sampe, attacking your fellow council members like that. All they wanted to do is talk about spending taxpayer dollars. I mean, frankly, unbelievable. Councilman Gabout, I have to bring up what happened 5 weeks ago with the scripted appointments. It was sad to see after so many years on council and your dedication to what was Team Wild and now Team Landau, would not even give you the pro tem position. You should have been the interim mayor based on all your years' experience, but you got nothing. Shame you're not at least pro tem. It will be interesting to see if you continue your dedication to the bunch. Headlines from the last week or so. CBS News, mayor promising the city to buy the mall. Hometown Life, city exploring purchasing the mall. Westland Community News, task force possible mall purchase. Move Westland Forward, Where is the $50 to $100 million coming from, and where's the replacement of the tax revenue? So about the appointed interim mayor, Michael P. Landau, and making the rounds about buying the mall. Shameful to see comments in Cranes that the mayor is calling the owner a bottom feeder, and also the words absolute garbage for the owner mall. Terrible language from a CEO, but shows the lack of leadership and growth by Mr. Landau. Now, if I were the mall owners, there's like 4 or 5, by the way, I would look up Michael Landau's troubled past and make sure to set up a meeting to discuss. Mr. Landau, why did you not vocally bring this up about the mall during your 6 years on council? Why did you approve year after year of the spending of the Wild Bunch to go to the retail mall convention? Why not be a leader then and not just doing what you've been told? Now on to this task force that the mayor is forming. Who will be on the task force? When will this be published? Hopefully not the same hopefully not the same recycled people that get most of the positions in Westland. Look at who was reappointed tonight. Same old people that just agree with everything. Not overachieving, no independent thinking, just saying yes to the administration. Sounds like a lot of fluff and PR, but without much thought. I guess that's pure Landau. So, Mr. Landau, when will this task force be published? When will the special membership be revealed?
Talk during my comments.
What was that?
I'll talk during my comments.
Oh, okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Is there anyone on my left? Okay, please.
Good evening, council, police, fire. Even you, Richard, hi. My name is Lori Wilson. I'm from Westland, Annapolis Park subdivision. This is Black History Month, and we have a park, Stottlemyre Park, that was just rededicated last year to the 12 that put it in place, that built that park, even though the city owned the property. I would like to know, and none of you probably can answer this, the Historical Commission came down and went to Butler Cemetery right there on Henry Ruff and avoided, for some reason, didn't even come over to Stottlemyre Park, but they went over into Inkster to the Malcolm X house that he only stayed in for 3 months. I just would like to see the people that created that park. It's a historic district. That's what we have been named. We are on the state and the national registry. We haven't been acknowledged at all. I'd like to know and see if for some reason this cannot be rectified. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on my right? Right?
I want to say good evening, everybody. It's always good to see my friends up here and Ray is always on the go. But I want to talk about a couple things here with the diversity. First one I went to is about businesses and stuff. And the deputy director did a good job that day. He had a PowerPoint that covered everything from disabilities to all with the businesses. Of the quality, diversity, inclusion, and I love that because that's what I do. And that's why I go to these things, because I have passion and I care what goes on. And what I do is I take it to the road and I take it to my work too, because diversity does go a lot of places. So it's always good to see, I see the police there, I saw the police, fire chief there. I mean, it's nice to have a group of, I saw Mike Lonlo there a little bit today, but it's good to see everybody to go to this. I think it's really good. And hopefully next time he has one again, it'll be a bigger crowd. So I really enjoyed that one, and also enjoyed the one today and the one last time we had on the businesses. Because businesses need to learn about people with disabilities too. So I kind of shared a little bit about that because they have the right to work like anybody else and be treated with dignity and respect. And I am really, really big about that. And also, our disability advocacy next meeting is going to be February 27th here at City Hall at 5:30. I would like, hopefully, some people can come to it and see how we reach out to the community. We're not just sitting around, we are doing stuff. So I always want to thank the supports from the City Council, friends, who come to my meetings and stuff, and it's really good. So also, knock on wood, Ray has been from the history where he is now into the community. I'm going to be interviewed for the WLIND for the Disability Awareness Month with a nice panel, a group of people they're going to interview. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. Telling my story, what it's like and how I'm living a life. If I can do it, other people can do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. Is anyone on my left? Sir?
Art Warren, President of the Southeast Westland Homeowners Association, and again, Precinct 28 delegate. When I spoke in regards to the lighting situation, a comment came up and said it wasn't about race. Well, I welcome the gentleman from Move Westland Forward to come to our meeting and explain why it's not about race when they think it's about race. So you're more than welcome to come and explain why our issues are not about race. Thank you.
Sir, you're you can bring him, sir, he didn't do anything inappropriate. He didn't insult you, he didn't make a personal attack. Sir, you can talk to him after the meeting, okay? Sir, you can talk to him after the meeting. Thank you. Sir.
I'm a public activist. I sent a FOIA request to every single one of you. And I appealed the decision because you guys did not put the correct amount on the what's it called, on the towing and the snowing and this and that. When you guys do bids every 10 years, 20 years, you guys hiding the contracts, putting money in your pockets. It does not show exactly how much people are getting their cars towed. It doesn't show nothing. I appealed the decision. You have 10 days. You guys blew me off like it's nothing. You want me to file a thing in circuit court because you guys are in violation of the FOIA 15.231 as amended? Could somebody answer me? You guys got the email. You got the emails for sure. Twice I sent it to you. Somebody get the email? Yeah, you guys did. Why didn't you answer me? My appeal or arbitrate.
Well, if you want to answer that question, sir, whenever you ask me anything that has to do with a legal issue, I forward it to my city attorney.
Okay. Mr. City Attorney, can you talk, please?
You have anything to offer from the attorney's office?
Well, this is the first time I'm specifically hearing about this particular FOIA request, but.
I sent them exactly. Attention.
Would you like me to answer would you like me to answer?
Go ahead.
Or no?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this is the first I've heard of this particular FOIA request. To the extent that our office has been forwarded any of those requests, we certainly would respond to them. You know, the city has a variety of published procedures online for how it responds to FOIA requests. And
I'm well aware of that.
okay, well, if you follow the procedure, then I can assure you that we did too.
I send a letter. I don't have to sit there and use your form. My letter is more sufficient than your form. It tells you exactly what I need. It's not my first rodeo. And I said attention to corporate counsel. That means I was attention to you, and I sent it to all city council members because I couldn't get your email address. They have it. They should have sent it to you. It's not my job if I sent it to them for them not to send it to you. I'm not understanding what's going on over here.
Sir, all I can say is that there's a specific procedure under the
You
statute.
got 10 days
and
under the
city
statute
regulations.
to answer my request for the appeal process. And then you gotta do a special meeting, and then you guys, it's either you approve it or deny it, and then I send it to Wayne County. That's how it works. Am I correct?
Sir, it sounds like you have your own procedures in mind, rather
It's
than...
not my own procedure, that's how it works in every city. It's not my first rodeo. You want me to read it out to you, what it says? As provided by section 5.2, I hope to receive materials within 5 working
Sir,
days of receipt.
sir.
That's not possible, please advise me.
Sir.
I will be happy to send proper payment.
Sir, your time
If
is
for
up.
any reason you decide to deny it.
Sir, your time is up.
Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on my left? Anyone on my right? All right, we'll close citizen comments and move to comments from the council. Begin tonight with Councilman Hertzberg. Mayor. Oh, sorry. Tried to bypass everybody over there. I apologize. Let me back that up.
I'll try to be brief, Council President. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to begin by offering my heartfelt condolences to the family, friends, classmates, and teachers of our Franklin Middle School student and our Franklin Middle School student and Westland resident who recently passed away, and also for the students and their families affected by the tragedy at Michigan State University. We're going to continue to keep them all in our thoughts and prayers during this painful and difficult time. I want to thank the Council President and the Pro Tem for their kind words at the beginning of the meeting and for the moment of silence as well. I'd also like to congratulate Deanna Stachow, Deborah Folks, and Ruby Richards on their reappointments to the Planning Commission. I'm also meeting with some various applicants to fill the remaining vacancies. I believe we have 2 or 3 of them. And also thank you, City Council, for approving my appointment to the CWCSA. The mall, I'm glad you brought that up. Got a nice folder here from a lot of different folks that have reached out, different developers. A lot of people but the mall. The mall has not reached out whatsoever. If you can get in contact with them, please have them reach out to me. I would love to talk with them. In the 6 years I've been either on council and the mayor, never had a chance to talk with them. So I would love to speak with them. Please have them call my office. I also last week attended my first Conference of Western Wayne CWW this past week. For those that don't know, CWW is an organization comprised of 18 Western Wayne County communities that coordinates 911 services for 730,000 residents in a 340 square mile region. This bipartisan board, made up of the chief elected officials of the 18-member communities, meets monthly to work collectively to discuss legislation, transportation, public safety, community and economic development, employment, and the environmental health of the region. I want to take a second to thank the fine team of DEI experts from Franklin County, Ohio, for sharing their rich experiences and expertise in fostering diversity, equity, and inclusion at our DEI Conversations event today. I thought it was well attended. I appreciate everybody that was there. I'm glad the event was designed by the DEI department to be interactive, and all participants had an opportunity to exchange and ask questions. We also did a lunch and learn on equity and inclusion are good for business that was sponsored by the Westland Chamber of Commerce. That was also a success. One of the biggest tasks I'm tackling currently is blight throughout the city. This week, the demolition of the old Lee Wright's property at 626 South Wayne Road is scheduled to take place. I know a lot of people have been really excited about that, so I'll be out there with the wrecking ball and looking to see that eyesore come down for good. This all ties into our commercial area revitalization plan, or a strategy. As council was aware at the last meeting, I also mentioned the actions the city has taken at the intersection of Newburgh and Marquette in regards to pedestrian safety. I have tasked our team with looking at all pedestrian sidewalks, starting with schools and parks. They have identified there's 32 intersections and crosswalks throughout the city that are adjacent to schools and parks. I'm having painted ladder markings at all of these crossings to alert drivers to be extra cautious in these areas. We will work to ensure all pedestrian crossings are as safe as possible. Earlier today, I, along with the Westland Police Community Partnership Committee, attended a luncheon with the Wayne County Association of Police Chiefs. We were provided with a law enforcement-focused legislative update, a CWW dispatch update, current program initiatives from the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, and the latest information and training opportunities available through the Kids Talk Children's Advocacy Center. I'll be meeting very soon with Skygate Apartments regarding the issues that were brought to our attention after the last meeting. After I became aware of the situation, I instructed our head building instructor, along with our fire marshal, to visit the site, and all the issues had been addressed up to that point. but we're going to meet with them in person and kind of go over some of our other concerns we have. I also sent council an update on this, but I wanted to mention it publicly for those watching at home. A couple more things. Starting this month, consumers will be relocating a high-pressure gas pipe at Wayne Road between Joy Road and Fountain Boulevard to the south. The Wayne County project of replacing the bridge has caused Consumers Energy to relocate the existing infrastructure there. The temporary relocation of the William P. Foss Library to Marshall Middle School located at 35100 Bayview has been finalized, and they are now fully operational. The transformation is absolutely remarkable, and it's inviting to patrons. I was able to attend one of their coffee hours this week and tour the building, as well as speak to some of the residents that were in attendance. I would invite council to stop by if you ever get a chance. While they have a scaled-down version of the library, all library services are on site. They took me in one of the gyms, and all the books are in the gym. It's incredible. So stop on by there if you get a chance. Consumers Energy is also providing 30,000 Google Nest smart thermostats to financially vulnerable natural gas customers to help Michigan residents facing high household costs. Information can be found at consumersenergy.com/freestat or by calling 1-800-477-5050. They also wanted me to plug their 211. We want to remind residents that if you need help with basic needs such as energy bills, food, or shelter, to call 211. It's a free service that connects residents with nonprofits for assistance. That's all I got tonight, Council President.
Thank you. Anything from the city attorney tonight?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. All right, this time I think I got it right. We'll begin with Councilman Hersberg.
Thank you, Council President. Just want to congratulate and thank all the reappointees for your service, continued service, and good luck in the next term. Just a quick announcement, State Representative Kevin Coleman is having a coffee hour this month. It's going to be Monday, March 13th at 9 a.m. This one is going to be at the Westland Starbucks at Warren in Central City. So it won't be at the usual place. That's Monday, March 13th, 9 a.m. Just a last touch up, I'll wait till the study session, but just regarding the ARPA discussion that was had, I will never agree with putting that and doing it during our budget meetings. Our budget meetings are busy enough for us to be fighting over what projects we're going to do and not do. You know, I brought up staffing and different things, and I've been told that, well, it's not appropriate for our budget meetings. And I don't want that to happen with this. So I'm looking forward to that study session. The council president asked for input, but we've been giving input for multiple years now, as well as having these charrettes, getting input from the residents. So I don't know why we're continuing to ask. Nothing changed. So really looking forward to that study session when it gets scheduled. Sir, I didn't catch your name, but you brought up a FOIA request. I'm gonna find out what happened, if our FOIA coordinator got it or not, and I'll follow up with you. That's about it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sampe.
Thank you, Council President. I hope everyone's doing well. Today marks the 21st day of Black History American Heart Month, and also it's Punchki Day. So wanted to remind everyone. We have a study session. I wanted to be forthcoming on this. So we do have a study session coming up on March 14th on our zoning ordinance update at 6 p.m. We also have another study session coming up on our CDBG home funds. It's the annual plan for fiscal year, and that's on March 20th at 6 p.m. I wanted to thank Steve Smith and Dan Block from our finance team and administration. They did provide us with a Marshall spending report, so I do appreciate you getting that to us. Mr. Ahun, hopefully I said that correctly. I did look at my emails while you were speaking. On 2/15, a FOIA request was sent. I will also make sure that gets followed up. Typically, that is sent off to a department, not really for us to handle, so I apologize you did not get a response. We will follow up on that for you, sir. And thank you for bringing it to our attention.
I found that too.
Okay. Yes.
Sir, we can't. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. There has been some horrific tragedies coming recently here in Michigan, and they did hit close to home. On February 13th, a mass shooting did take place in 2 buildings on the campus of EMU. 3 students were killed, 5 injured, and the gunman also perished. I guess in terms of follow-up on this, there was a questionnaire that was sent out via the Free Press to our lawmakers. Two of our representatives did not answer their response on gun control. I would like to thank Senator Dana Polhinky, who did reply to that survey. But this is now a public health crisis. Our children are dying. Please let that sink in. Our children are dying. Could happen anywhere. And something needs to change. I don't know how many children need to die before people jump into action and take action. I am a mom of a 16-year-old, and it's a normal for him to go through shooter drills, and it's absolutely disgusting. The threat of mass violence is now normal, and our kids are living in a world where they risk their lives to get an education. Education that requires them to live in fear. It requires them to nervously tell their parents as they leave home, and it's absolutely disgusting, like I said. In the last 14 months alone, the headlines are stacking up that innocent children are being involved in these mass shootings in our community, and again, it's now close to home. It could be anywhere. I think we need bill numbers now. I think common sense gun reform is needed. In 2 months in 2023, there's been 2,215 mass gun shootings. What I would say is I encourage, if you support me, if you don't, that's okay. But I encourage you to reach out to your lawmakers and ask them to step up or step out. On February 14th, again, I'd like to also have my condolences to the Franklin Middle School student who passed away. Absolutely tragic here in our city, and I give my prayers to him and lift him up in prayers for his family. There is a GoFundMe page. I'm going to share that on my personal council page, Melissa Sampe. On a positive note, I want to thank the members of the Norwayne Community Citizens Council on a very successful family prom night that was held. And I want to also thank you for just doing great things in the community, offering a free activity to families. For those that are in the audience that participated, thank you very much for doing that. And then this Saturday is going to be very busy in the city. So Hometown Pets is going to be hosting an adoption, and it is going to be a great event. It's going to be at Hometown Pets in Westland, and they will be sponsoring half the adoption fee and providing adopters with a free goodie bag and a small bag of food. So that's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Next, the Westland Police Department is doing another fun event. They are gearing off now with Garden City Police Department at Garden City Ice Arena at Merriman and Cherry Hill for a charity game Saturday at 7, and I think it's just for a donation, so yes. Okay, just wanted to confirm. Again, thank you all for being here this evening. Our next meeting will be Monday, March 6th, 7 p.m. We invite you to come out. Until then, be safe and kind, and we will see you all very soon.
Councilman Godbout.
Thanks. First, I'd like to thank the council president for taking a moment of silence for the Franklin Middle School student, as well as those that from Michigan State that lost their lives tragically. I would like to congratulate and thank Deanna and Ruby and Deborah for continuing to serve on the Planning Commission. It's you've been involved, you've been active, and the Planning Commission does a great job. And the meetings, I watch the meetings, so I get to, I see what kind of actions you take, the questions you ask, and they're always very thoughtful and in the best interests of the community. So again, thank you for continuing to serve on the Planning Commission. And then, I take offense to Councilwoman Sampe's remarks earlier about being involved and making sure that we're ready to come to this study session. I've been asking for this study session for a long time. And in fact, just before the meeting, I talked to Council President Hart, and I'm the only council member that submitted this spreadsheet with ideas. So to sit there and say that, come prepared, and she hasn't even submitted the ideas yet, it makes it very offensive, and that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman McDermott.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Council President. First off, thank you for the moment of silence for the students at Michigan State University and for Jacob Escobedo. Certainly, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Escobedo family who lost their child in a horrific tragedy and a horrific accident that occurred. And certainly with MSU, this is all too familiar. We've sat here and talked about this after Oxford, after Parkland, after Orlando, after a concert in Las Vegas, after black people were targeted at a grocery store in Buffalo. And we see this kind of mass violence, not only in schools, in churches, in synagogues, in Sikh gurdwaras, in mosques. We see this in the streets every day where people live, and in communities all across this country, in urban and rural communities. Here in America, we have 43,000 people that die every year from gun violence. That's more than 116,000 per day. We have more guns in this country than we have people, and we are the only developed nation that has more guns than people. Here in the United States, we have 120.5 firearms per every 100 resident. We have 466 million estimated firearms total in this country. So clearly the solution to me is not to keep arming more and more and more people, because if it were, we'd be the safest country on earth. We would potentially rid ourselves of these mass shootings and this mass violence. But we know what does work. There are tangible steps that do work. No, we are not going to take everybody's gun away. So the histrionics that people want to say that, oh, they're common sense gun safety reform, and I thank my colleague Councilwoman Sampe for mentioning that and bringing that up, is not a hysteria that's going to lead to your gun being taken away. But when you look at countries like New Zealand, Australia, that did enact common sense gun safety reforms, rigorous background checks, mental health screenings, red flag laws, these things work. The data is out there to show that these things work and they keep people safer. When President Clinton enacted the assault weapons ban in the 1990s, there was a reduction in crime and a reduction in mass shootings. That is not my word. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Look at the data. It works. And while I offer my thoughts and prayers to the families of the students at Michigan State, my own nephew goes to Michigan State, and I made sure that he was okay that night, and I'm sure that everybody up here and many of you watching at home know someone who goes to Michigan State or works at Michigan State. While thoughts and prayers are offered up, they're not enough, and action needs to be taken. And again, thank you, Councilwoman Sampe, for calling for legislative action on that. And I sincerely hope that our leaders in Lansing take swift and bold legislative action on gun safety reform measures to keep people safe, because enough is enough. And we can't have people burying their babies, burying their family members and their loved ones, and having this conversation over and over again. Got a few more things that I wanted to address tonight. Looking forward to the ARPA study session. I will be submitting my spreadsheet once I put all my research together. That's why I haven't submitted mine. I have some things that I want to put together, so I'm excited for that. Thank you, Council President, for sending that around and getting that ball rolling. Really appreciate that. Always excited to talk about having a staffing study session related to fire department staffing and what we can do for our staffing levels at the fire department and retention pay, just like we did for our police department. So excited to have that study session as well, and I think want to keep that on the minds of everybody here in our community. I want to thank Steve and, well, Dan left, but thank you, Steve and Dan, for your work on the budget amendments and the ARPA and all the information that you've gotten us. I know we've had a lot of requests here as a council, and we've been throwing them at you here at the dais, through email, coming into your office to talk. So it's a lot of work that goes into that, and thank you to the administration for getting all that put together and getting out to council. I would offer my sincere hope that DTE is prepared for the coming winter storms here. We're going to get a lot of ice and snow, and we know in the past that DTE has not been prepared, whether it's with their tree trimming program or whether it's proactively working on power lines or on the transformers. Hopefully some proactivity from DTE to be prepared in addressing the coming winter storm, because I would hate to wake up to hearing that 8, 10, 12,000 plus West End residents and people in Southeast Michigan not having power. It seems a story all too familiar with DTE, and then we get the same rhetoric from their PR machine about what they're doing and what they'll continue to do. Well, tens of thousands, and in some cases, hundreds of thousands of people here in Southeast Michigan are left without power. Thank you to Deanna, to Deborah, and to Ruby for continuing to serve our community here on the Planning Commission. Appreciate all that you do as well. And then I'm excited about the Lee Wrights demolition. I didn't know it was occurring this week, so thank you, Mayor, for bringing that up. I think there's going to be a lot of residents who are excited for a long overdue remediation of that property and the future that that holds. And with that, I wish you all a good evening. Stay safe during the coming winter storm. And to our DPW crew, who I know is going to be out there salting the roads and working hard, thank you for what you're going to be doing. We know that you're going to be working hard and probably putting in some overtime during this coming storm. Thank you.
Councilman Hornbuckle.
All right, thank you. First thing I want to do is thank you for the moment of silence for the tragedy that happened these last couple of weeks. Very sad to hear those things, and thank you. Congratulations to Deanna, Deborah, and Ruby. I had the pleasure of working with all three of you, and I know you guys do great work and will continue to do great work, so thank you. I want to give a big shout out, a big thank you, a hug to our Franklin County DEI team that came out and put on a really good event. Help bring, I believe, bring the community a little bit closer. You know, it takes a couple of ripples to make a big wave, and I think we made a couple of ripples these past couple of weeks. So thank you to Pascal for his hard work in putting this together, and also the team around him that's supporting them. I had the pleasure of going to the actual DEI meeting. Got to learn a little bit more about what they do, a couple of issues in the neighborhood, and just hear people talk about being included and what that means to them, and understanding some of the things I might say that just normal to me might offend someone, and being able to say, hey, take the moment and say, hey, you shouldn't say it this way, you should say it this way because it offends me. And we take for granted for the things we say. We don't know that it offends someone. And so being able to sit down and actually have a talk and hear those things are really great and eye-opening. Also went to the Board of Ethics. It was a really good procedure. I don't want to beat up on the police department, but they were the only ones on the docket that day. And I encourage people to come and see. And the police department are trained to be stern, and they get put in these situations where you have a conflict with two people, but their job is to be there stern and to help calm the issue. And sometimes it can be taken out of context when you're in a dispute with someone. And being able to see how they handle those things and those complaints were really great in understanding why they do certain things and how they help the community. And how they educate and train their officers to be able to handle those. It's not an easy job, but I do appreciate the Board of Ethics allowing me to come there and see that, and thank you for allowing me to understand how that works. I would like to give the council itself, I would like to give you all a pat on the back. Today we demonstrated something that was very frustrating, and we was able to work through it and compromise and try to work together. And that's what the city of Westland needs, is a council body that could take something very sensitive and work together and compromise and try to figure out to make it right for our citizens. Last thing, something fun to do for the cities is the Boy and Boy. I believe this is the last weekend. This was an amazing comedy So I encourage you guys to go there. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are the last 3 days, so make sure you go. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hornbuckle. Pro Tem Rakowski.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Like my fellow colleagues, I'd like to congratulate and thank our reappointed planning commissioners, Ms. Ruby Richards, Ms. Deborah Folks, and Ms. Deanna Stachow. It's the participation in our boards and commissions by residents that make our city wonderful. And I think as the administration moves forward to start filling these seats and vacancies, we have to be mindful that we are adding as much diversity, equity, and inclusion to every board and commission, not just our DEI commission. We should be cognitively aware of the geography of the people seated in those positions, and we have to also be sure that they're demonstrating the type of decorum that makes those board meetings and business meetings productive and meaningful for those in attendance. Far too often, our opinions are spewed without any consideration to those who are sitting around and witnessing what is being said. And I think it is time for our board and commission members to get a refresher on what it means to be a part of an open meeting. And I would hope that our administration and our city attorney will make those policies and procedures akin to the ones that we as council share available to them and give them a refresher so that everybody feels that they matter and that they are included. So I would hope that the administration would look into that. It's a sad day every time we have to take a moment of silence, and it's happening far too often. I thank you, Council President, for allowing me to be a part of that. And I thank my colleagues and those of you here who participated in it as well. On December 6th of 2021, I presented to Council, and Council unanimously passed a resolution asking for our legislators to act. That was in the wake of the Oxford shooting. I'm not going to talk about gun control. I'm not going to talk about mental health. What I'm going to talk about today is being a parent and having the opportunity of just simply visiting my child's classroom once a week, every week, for the last 2 years that he's been attending school post-COVID. And I randomly had the opportunity to be in attendance in his school during a lockdown drill. And if you want a real gut check, be in one of those lockdown drills. I have anxiety, and I think, it's no surprise that when you watch your own child and 22 of their classmates go through a simulation, and he's a young student, so we call them bad guy drills. They're not active shooter drills in elementary schools. And you watch them hide, and you hear the administration come through the hallways banging on the doors to try to get in, and they have to be quiet. And then they go through the exercise of opening the window to escape, and then the lights come back on, and you're looking at just 22 innocent little children whose biggest fear that day was, what happens if our teacher gets hurt? How do we get her through the window? It's not normal. It's not the way it's supposed to be, and things have to change. I think it's a tragedy that that's normal to our children. So it shouldn't matter if we're sending them to kindergarten, college, the corner store, or a house of worship. We shouldn't have to worry that that's going to happen to them. And I certainly don't know how that makes the education and the school day the most meaningful and wonderful thing that it should be. Because we are taking our most precious assets for our whole community, our whole country, our whole world, these little children, and we're making this anxiety-riddled practice so normal for them. And it's heartbreaking. And as a parent, it's been very hard to wrap my head around how you make that normal. So that's what I can say. I hope that our legislators hear us, but more so, I just hope that people can find hope and find a way to get on with their lives without having to take the lives of other people. And that's just what I want to end on tonight. I wish you all hope. I wish you all love and respect. And I hope that you never have to explain, witness, or feel the pain that those families have felt. Thank you.
That was quite sobering, actually, Pro Tem. Thank you. I'd like to thank Councilman Godbout for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. I'd like to thank Pro Tem Rakowski for running the meeting in my absence last week. No, sure, I'm being called for a replacement already. I hear you did such a great job. So, just a couple things. It was a fun little meeting today. Councilman Hornbuckle kind of hit it. I think we worked through it. Little salt and pepper came out, but I think as long as we keep it under control and we speak intelligently and effectively, I think we get through some things, and some concessions were made, but some things got done, okay? So that was good. So let's talk about kind of this next wave of ARPA. So what I did last week is, as we're going through these and looking at this last, spend of ARPA, I sent out to the council with a spreadsheet format. And I says, look, we need to have a study session, but I don't want us to just get into a room and start throwing things against the wall. We'll be here for 5 hours and we probably won't get anywhere. So let's go ahead and put some things in, put them on the spreadsheet, send them to me, I'll compile them all together. We'll call into a study session, we'll go over these things. So I think my comment outside was weaponized a little bit. So the spirit of that was, wow, you're on top of it, you're in first. I haven't got any others yet, but I only gave it out last week. And I know I've talked to a couple other colleagues, and they're working on more data and putting things in. So I don't think it was anyone's failure to participate. I think that kind of came across. So that's not the intent at all. So we're waiting for everybody's comments to come in. Now, as I said in the email, once all the comments are in, or at least you tell them you don't have any, we'll compile things together and we'll pull that study session together, arm ourselves with all the information we can have, and we'll get through all of these things that the council wants to work on. So, and thank you for that. We're doing that. We have had several charrettes. If you remember, when we started this whole process, we had 2 big charrettes. Plant Moran came out and helped us facilitate those. And we worked on some of the big ticket items. Now we're zeroing down on a couple other things. And council gets a lot of feedback from the public. They have things council wants to do. Council takes feedback from the thing that the public wants. So we're putting this all together as we look at this last tranche. And it'll be an open study session so people have an opportunity to opine as well. But it's an opportunity for us to work together with specific goals, specific items, specific least budget amounts, something you think it's worth. I laughed. If you tell me you want a pony, that's fine. How much is the pony? So we know what we're talking about. If you say something grander like, yeah, I just want to build another fire station. Okay, well, do you have any idea what that's going to cost? Do you have anything you can come in so that we can put it together for a discussion? Those are all the inputs for our meeting. The outputs will probably, what is my goal is the council will come to some consensus on a number of items that fit into the budget that we have, and then we can direct the administration to start and get us more data on those items. And I think that was communicated in the email, and I'm just communicating that again to everybody else. So as soon as you get it back to me, we'll try and get that thing booked, right? Because I know it's important for us to do that. So that's that. With regard to everything else, thank you everybody for coming out, spending some time with us today. As always, the council, I know all 7 of us responded. Emails and phone calls, you know how to get a hold of them. Unless you ask me something legal, then I'm going to hand that right over to my legal department, because I'm not the legal department. I don't play a lawyer on TV, nor do I pretend to be one right here. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Support.